Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. So this is going to be another 3v3 arena video as a warrior mage shaman. I'm playing with Hotted and Uplift here, and we actually fought against this Shadow Priest Resto Shaman Unholy Death Knight team quite a bit this evening that we were queuing, and we ended up having some pretty consistent and solid success against them. And I'd like to share with you exactly what we did in order to beat this team, because I think this is a very strong comp, and I feel like you guys are most likely going to be fighting something like this in the future, because Shadow Priests, Resto Shamans, and Unholy Death Knights, they're all pretty popular classes in themselves, and if you put them all together, it can be very, very scary. But like I said, we did have a pretty good amount of success against these guys, and I'd like to tell you how we did it. But then again, it's also pretty interesting to see what sort of changes tactically these guys tried to make in order to you know, get a win off of us. So anyway, our general idea against these guys is to hit the Shadow Priest a lot. Shadow Priest and Shaman are really the targets that you want to hit here, because Unholy Death Knights, they can go Blood Presence and pop Conversion, and they're really, really tanky, so pouring a lot of damage into them is sort of like a waste of damage. Whereas hitting the Shadow Priest is going to be a more effective use of your damage, because he'll take more damage than an Unholy Death Knight, plus it'll limit a lot of the damage that they can do to your team. So he's just a good target to hit, but definitely look for swaps to the Shaman. And as you can see, their Shaman is playing very, very defensively, really close to his pillar, because we've swapped him before in the games that we've played these guys, and they did not like it. But we're still going to catch him in a deep freeze as soon as he pokes out. I'm going to heroic leap on top of him, pop some cooldowns, get really good damage on him, but I'm going to be peeled with Roots and a Fear, so I'm going to quit worrying about him. I'm going to Shockwave the Shadow Priest and try to peel this DK, is also popping cooldowns. So their strategy that they're going to employ this game is they're just going to try to tunnel my mage into the ground. It looks like they might switch on to me here because I'm a little bit overextended, so they're going to try to pull whoever they can really close to their pillar, pop cooldowns on them, and see if they can score maybe a longer game kill. These guys aren't really going to burst us quite as hard as we can burst with an Arms Warrior and a Frost Mage. So if they're able to get a kill on us, it's probably either due to a mistake on our part or the fact that the game has gone on too long. So our goal here is to make the most efficient use of our damage that we can, and we pour that into the Shadow Priest or the Resto Shaman. And one of the ways that you can really shorten the game is make those swaps to the Resto Shaman. A good clean swap will make a Shaman pop defensive cooldowns and have to use a lot of their mana in order to keep themselves and their teammates alive. So it's going to make them go it's going to make them run out of defensive cooldowns, which even if you don't end up killing the Shaman, it still makes the Shaman's teammates more susceptible to dying a little bit later on. So in general, there's going to be a target that you want to spend most of your time hitting, which for us it's going to be the Shadow Priest, and then you have a swap target where you can switch them in a deep freeze, or if I can charge and shockwave if my mage doesn't have a deep freeze available for the healer, that's what we can do. So if you notice, the consequence of hitting the healer sometimes is that with 2 DPS with free reign, you will get counter pressured. So you need to have a sort of a good mental gauge of how much can you train that healer when you actually switch. And that will vary with the healer, that will vary with the comp you're fighting, and that will just vary in general. And it's the kind of thing you have to learn from experience. So keep practicing, keep making those swaps, and stay sharp for the counter pressure. What you're looking for here is to either get the swap and get the kill, or make the swap, force defensive cooldowns, and then go back to hitting the target that you were hitting before, or whatever DPS you want to hit. Because what you don't want to have happen is what happened to me, sort of, where we made the swap, we may have pursued a little too long, and we got counter pressured, and I had to pull back completely, reducing my pressure altogether. And now we're seeing their counter pressure off of our just a slight misstep. It's a little bit of like a butterfly effect sort of thing. Like if you just stay on a DPS or the healer just a little bit too long, things can start to turn in their favor, especially when they're like a heavy dot pressure, slow, long game kind of comp like this is. Not to say that they can't burst. If they pop cooldowns, your team is going to get hurt, and that's what happened to my mage. But like we've been talking about, all those swaps to the Shaman really left him and without defensive cooldowns for his team. So when they wanted to start pushing out, when they wanted to start that counter pressure, they really just didn't have the resources in terms of the mana or the defensives to sustain that push. So they pushed out at half health, all of them. It's a little bit of a desperation push. They really didn't have anything else to do, and we met them with full mana, full damage, and we're able to get a kill. So that was a really cool game. But this next one's maybe the most interesting one we fought, at least. So we fought these guys quite a few times at this point, and we've won every game. So they're really starting to think creatively what they can do to win against us, and I really like the way they play this one. Like, I didn't enjoy it at the time because it gets kind of scary and it's like unpleasant, but I really respect and like their creative problem solving in terms of their tactics in this game, so you'll see what I mean. But anyway, so we're gonna start and take the tomb, and they're gonna meet us right there. Death Knight's in balls deep, trying to spread all his dots around, and we're gonna deal a bazillion damage to this guy. We almost blow him up. He has to drop his anti-magic zone, and at this point, we're sort of getting baited into popping cooldowns against him. Like, anytime you pop cooldowns into a DK, like, I'm always really concerned about that, because it just doesn't really seem to be as effective as if you pop them on somebody else. But I've saved my cooldowns, and I don't even know, my mage might not pop cooldowns, maybe just did regular old mage damage and took him to 20%, I don't know. But regardless, I'm playing really defensively here, because despite Hotted's best efforts, I'm still not able to get topped off in terms of my health, so I'm kind of hesitant to get any further over the tomb than I was initially. So they met us on the tomb strong, and I'm gonna actually pop cooldowns into the Death Knight, which, like I said, you know, like he doesn't have defensives, right? We should be able to kill him, right? Like, we get him so low, he just won't die. So, like, he's able to pop AMS, maybe even gets life swapped, gets Spirit Link, so things seem good, right? We got a lot of defensive cooldowns. And then they start their strat. So, what their strat is throughout this game is going to be to try to double death grip me as far back into that room as possible. And that's going to create more pressure than any of us on my team are comfortable with. So I'm going to try to stay out of that room if I can, hit the Shadow Priest, and try to resume the strategy that has been effective for us in the past. We still want to hit the Shaman, but the thing is, like, if we go to the Shaman, I'm going to start to LOS my healer a little bit. And if I get Necrotic Strikes stacked up on me with the amount of damage that they can deal, it's going to be really bad for me really fast. So, again, I get double death gripped into the very back of the room. I want to stay in here, though, because we can maybe kill the Shaman. I catch him in a Shockwave. He's so low, but the Priest shields and the passive healing from the Shaman, he just refuses to go down. And meanwhile, I'm in this room getting pounded on by this DK pet. The Shadow Priest is popping cooldowns and is able to get a lot of pressure up on me, so I realize this is not a good situation, and I definitely want to get out of here. And so I'm trying to pull back, but as soon as I get out, he pulls me back in. So I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm heroic leaping away, really trying to avoid that really negative situation that I was in. So now I'm pulling back past my healer and still taking tons and tons of damage. So I'm getting Shadow Word Death. We all get Capacitor, Totem Stun. This is looking scary, but for us, they've pulled back out of the room. They've had to come chase us if they want to get a kill, so we're able to counter pressure them once more. We're pouring damage into the Death Knight again, which is like I was talking about before, and you'll see why. Hopefully this game is a good example of like why hitting Death Knights just isn't as effective as you'd think. You don't really want to put a lot of effort into killing them because they're somewhat immortal until their healers zoom, I suppose. But yeah, this strategy they're employing is proving very disruptive to the execution of our strategy, at least. They can all turtle up in there, and I can just get death grip really way too far back for my healer to be able to help me out as much as he'd like to. And so things get scary. However, it does set them up for like huge shockwaves like that one, where I can get the entire team in a shockwave stun. But I'm spending so much of my time like communicating with my healer whether I'm gonna die or not, and just trying to get out of that death trap of a room that's going on. But as long as I keep spending, you know, a lot of my conscious effort on realizing where I am in terms of my positioning with respect to my healer, and really am aware of my health and what I can do and what my healer's able to do, we can survive this sort of thing. And our pressure, luckily, hasn't really suffered all that much, because we've just been in that room brawling, just throwing Thunderclap on everybody, throwing that Orbit on everybody and everybody's pets. So our damage is good, and their healer once again is going and so I'm gonna get a little ballsy here, pop some cooldowns, charge into that Shaman, and kill that guy after my mage gets him pretty low. So the strategy they employed this game was working pretty well. I mean, I got low a lot, and if you take a look at Hotted's mana, I mean, he's spent. Like, we're running ragged at this point. This is not good. If the game went on much longer, we definitely could have lost this one. So this battle in the trenches and war of attrition these guys forced us to fight was definitely a creative strategy, and in hindsight, I respect and appreciate their strategy. But man, that was pretty tough and scary to fight against. But another really fun game against these guys, and I'm pretty sure we've got one more to share with you. So, after fighting these guys quite a few times, our strategy is pretty solid at this point. I'm gonna charge on the Death Knight, really try to stop him in the middle of the bridge, not give him free reign of my two casters, and try to push into their team a little bit. Although I know they want to pull me back there, so I'm going to be a little bit wary of my positioning, but definitely going to start trying to mount some pressure on this Shadow Priest. And interestingly enough, The Death Knight's going to grip me towards my healer, which is a pretty interesting strategy if he wants to spread all of his dots to me, get me low, and then maybe switch to my healer, which is something this comp can do effectively. But I'm going to push it on this Shadow Priest, really try to limit any sort of casting he can do while mounting tons of pressure simply from damage alone. I'm going to be able to catch this Death Knight and the Shadow Priest in a Shockwave, along with a few pets, so might as well get that free 20-second Shockwave. Meanwhile, my mage is lighting this DK up, so we're getting a pretty effective split here. I am going to switch to the Death Knight with my mage because the Shadow Priest was going to disperse. As soon as the Shadow Priest comes out of the disperse, I'm going to get right back on him, Shockwave him once again, really not let them recover from the insane pressure we've got going on right now. Because we're just brawling these guys in the middle of the bridge, and it looks like we're winning pretty substantially. We get the Shaman in a big polymorph there, able to kill the DK pet. Shaman drops a Spirit Link, so we're going to switch to him right now. Meanwhile, you do see the Death Knight popping his Gargoyle, so keep an eye on my mage's health here as well. It's not like we're not getting counter pressured here, but the Shaman is looking like he might be a real kill opportunity. I'm going to use my Shout. I'm not quite in range of that heal though, so I missed my interrupt on him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go back to the Priest, because the Priest takes a good amount of damage, and we seem to be having a lot of success hitting the Shadow Priest. I'm going to charge this Shaman heal, gonna Berserker Rage the Fear, immediately leap back to the Priest. I know the Shaman's gonna be looking for a heal here, so I Shockwave that heal, and out of that Shockwave stun, we're able to score a kill on the Priest. So this game was probably about as pretty as it could get against these guys, I feel like. That split in the beginning actually worked out really nicely for us, because I was limiting their caster, my mage was limiting their melee. We lined up our cooldowns well and got huge defensives out of everyone on their team, which allowed us to swap to the Shaman for a little bit, and the pressure from that swap allowed us to get the kill on the Shadow Priest. So really fun and satisfying game to end off a little bit of the series we had against these guys. So thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed these commentaries, because I honestly really do enjoy making them for you. Hope they're helpful, if not entertaining at least. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace!